Welcome! Today, we are going to break down the absolute fundamentals of how you talk to a database using SQL. Seriously, we're going from zero to writing your very first complete query. So think about it. If you have a massive library full of data, you can't just go browsing through everything, right? You need to be able to ask a very specific, well-formed question to get the exact answer you're looking for. And in the world of SQL, that specific question has a name. It's called a query. And it is, without a doubt, the most fundamental tool you're going to use to pull out data. So here's our game plan. We'll start with the absolute core components, then learn how to filter our data, we'll tackle the super tricky case of null values, and then we'll put it all together. Okay, let's dive right in with the two most essential building blocks of any query you'll ever write: select and from. Honestly, you can think of them as the subject and verb of your data sentence. First up is the what. You got to tell the database what you want. You use the select command to list the specific columns you're interested in. You're not pulling the whole table, just these specific vertical slices of data. Okay, so after telling the database what columns we want, the next logical question is, well, where does it look? The from clause does exactly that. It points to the specific table that holds our data, like the students table right here. Now, here's a really crucial pro tip. You'll often see people write select star, that's a star or an asterisk, and it just means select all columns. And yeah, it's fine when you're just exploring, but it is a really bad habit to get into for production code. Why? Because if the table changes later on, your query could just completely break. It is always safer to name your columns explicitly. So we know how to grab whole columns, but the real power of SQL comes from filtering for specific rows. So let's see how we can add those rules to our query. And we do this with the where clause. You can think of it as the filter for your data. It lets you set the conditions that a row has to meet to be included in your results. The where clause usually uses logical operators like and or. It's pretty straightforward and is way more restrictive. All the conditions have to be true, so it narrows down your results. Or is much more inclusive. Only one of the conditions needs to be true, which usually broadens your results. Okay, this is really important to know. By default, and gets evaluated before or. And to avoid any ambiguity or potential bugs, which, trust me, can be a real headache, you should just get in the habit of always using parentheses to group your conditions whenever you mix them. It makes your logic crystal clear. All right, next up, we need to talk about a concept that trips up pretty much every beginner: how SQL deals with missing or unknown information. I mean, what happens when a piece of information just isn't there? For instance, what if a student's grade hasn't been entered into the system yet? It's not zero, it's just we don't know. So SQL represents this unknown state with a special keyword, null. And it is so important to understand that null is not a value like zero or an empty string. It just means the data is missing. It's an absence of a value. And this unknown nature leads to a super common mistake. You can't use an equal sign to check for null, because how can you say one unknown value is equal to another unknown value? You can't. So this query will simply never give you back any rows. So the crucial point is this: you absolutely must use the special phrase is null or is not null. This is the one and only correct way to specifically test for the presence or absence of a value. Now, this truth table gives us a little peek into the logic behind all this. SQL uses what's called a three-valued system: true, false, and null. And as you can see, when you combine a value with null using and, the outcome is usually, well, null, because the result is still unknown. The only exception is when a definite false makes the whole expression false, no matter what. Okay, let's take everything we've just learned and put it all together to build ourselves a complete, proper query. Now, here's a little secret about how the database actually thinks. Even though you write select first, the database actually processes the from clause first to get the data source. Then it runs the where clause to filter it all down, and only then, at the very end, does it select the columns you actually asked for. So let's look at an example. This complete query is set up to find students who are in either computer science or data science, and who are also past their second year. The key here is using those parentheses to group the or condition, making sure the logic is evaluated exactly how we want it. And there you have it, with just these three keywords: select, from, and where.
you now have the power to ask an incredible number of questions and pull precisely the data you need from any database. You've just taken a huge, crucial first step into the world of SQL. You can now ask for what you want, from where, and under what conditions. So, what powerful question are you going to ask next?